Greetings, humans. You humans have a saying. Do you want the good news or the bad news first? It's designed to give the listener some agency in the mixed bag that's about to be dumped on their laps. Well, since this human beta version of this review isn't interactive, you have no agency at all, and you're getting the bad news first. Which you probably could see coming a parsec away anyway. So, enter the 4th season premiere of The Mandalorian, releasing on Disney Plus. Oh no, sorry. That's wrong timeline. How embarrassing. Enter The Mandalorian and Grogu, a film coming out this weekend in theaters. Zbot1496 here with a review of the movie The Mandalorian and Grogu. As usual, our review process will mechanically segment this human rectangular art form in 5 sections, which you can select from the transport timeline below. The sections are the film's context, the engagement of its story, minus plot spoilers, the appeal of its characters, and the resonance of its theme, before rendering our rating of the film. So, let us begin. The story. For a film set in a galaxy far, far away, in one that wondrously explores the heroic pursuit of justice in the face of fascistic technological oppression, which was as timely on Earth 49 years ago when Star Wars came out, with the echoes of Nixon's corrupt regime, as it is today with
the corruption of the current one.
Well, this film does none of that. In fact, the stakes are so low, so to speak, that nothing that happens in the film has any meaningful impact on anything. Even more, in fact, this doesn't even feel like a film at all, more like a TV movie. In fact, a very specific pair of TV movies, the Ewok Adventures, Caravan of Courage, and The Battle for Endor. All 3 of these films seem to delight in the childlike antics of the commercial toy baby characters, who we shall henceforth refer to as the profitagonists, who behave like Muppets and whose dialogue is essentially irrelevant. All 3 films feature childlike and wooden dialogue from all characters, with very little range of emotion from anyone. All 3 films feature grotesquely over-the-top instances of horror, dramatically out of phase with the cute toy baby antics of several of the protagonists. They all feature farcically evil villains and homespun kind-hearted souls in the backwater who appear out of nowhere just in time to save the plot. This is not to say we generally dislike the formula here. We actually enjoyed the first season of the Mandalorian TV series on which this film is based. However, it was fresh at that point, and only a TV show, which carries with it the general acceptance that each episode or season would be self-contained. This is, in fact, one of the reasons we are generally less interested in television, since media formatted for that consumption rarely tells a completely rounded story, or successfully delivers a compelling tale. A film, on the other hand, has to tell a complete story. That's the general rule, which is validated by human attention spans. They must relate to what's happening and have an emotional connection to it, or they'll get bored at the 36-minute mark. And as it happened, the packed theater we saw the film in went from boisterous hooting at the Lucasfilm logo to half-hearted cheers by the time we see Mando do something cool, to muted chuckles by the time Grogu cooed something, to total silence through the expectantly rousing beats of the rest of the film. But wait, We all love these two characters, right? Well, yes, we do. However, they never surprise, they never grow, they reprise several of the behaviors we see from the TV show. A character from the Rebels animated TV show shows up, but doesn't really make an impact. In the Mandalorian TV show, Pedro Pascal, as the Mandalorian, seems to carry much more emotion and can really act through his shiny chrome outfit, but seems to forget how to do that in this movie. Sigourney Weaver shows up as a rebel colonel, but her character has no real personality and presents as a total waste of talent. There are some interesting scenes of connecting between our regulars and a new character who they can't tell if they should trust. These scenes should land better than they do, but they don't, because the new character sounds too much like a human tween, but with pro wrestling abs, and you just can't take the whole character seriously. As for the theme, it's actually a pretty good one, in that beings don't need to be who their parents are, or were in this case. They can choose who they want to be. And we do credit writers and the director, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, in presenting something that's meaningful. However, the sincerity of the theme is squandered on the absurdity of the presentation and the flatness of the dialogue. It's not that you can't have a serious theme in a galaxy of robots and weird creatures. You obviously can. The trilogy of films that jump-started this franchise made that abundantly clear. Humans of all ages, all cultures, all ideologies, all races, all of them could feel the impact of the message that story was telling. That is not happening here. This film is not trying to reach all humans. It seems Star Wars has essentially given up on that and just tries to tailor stories to specific demographics one at a time. Except it's hard to see which demographic this PG-13 film is supposed to appeal to. Actual kids? Or grown-up 50-something kids? The film has Muppet-like characters and dialogue, as we've mentioned, but also Rambo-like brutality, body horror, recovering from seemingly fatal wounds to come back for revenge-seeking, which isn't averted by choice, in this case by the profitagonist, but by coincidence, which is a pretty sad outcome for that title character that essentially flattens any positive message the film is trying to say. And that really pulls out the through line here. The story offers little new. The two-dimensional characters have no arc, and the theme is flattened out by the mixed messages and dull performances. But perhaps the biggest problem with this film is that it essentially is a live-action animated TV show episode about a side story, a side quest in the Star Wars universe, taking up a full theatrical slot for the franchise. We haven't had a Star Wars film since 2019's grammatically questionable Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, and we haven't had a good Star Wars film since 2016's Rogue One, 10 years ago. This cartoon, instead, is essentially squandering the resources and attention that we need to have applied to the main Star Wars story, the main Star Wars characters, and the main Star Wars theme. Of course, the previous attempt to service all of those was terrible too, since that trilogy missed all those points as well. But Andor showed that it's possible to get them all right as well. This one still got them all wrong. For all these reasons, this film forces our hand to give it our lowest rating. And so concludes this human version of our review. If you have feedback on it, please write in your own comments so that we can upload the galactic version to Zoggplex. You can expect more discussions and reviews of theatrical movies and 4K home video releases on a periodic basis as we continue to engage with your human rectangular entertainment. So, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you can, please comment so that we can continue to have the human voice reflected in the cosmos. Until next time, farewell, humans.